Pray the Devil Back to Hell, which talks about what Lema and her Liberian sisters did to end a vicious civil war and bring peace to Liberia. I highly recommend it. And to my friend, Tawakkul, who's been on the front lines of the struggle for freedom and democracy in Yemen. It is so humbling to see the progress that you are making. It is now my honor to present this year's International Women of Courage Awards. And I would ask each of the honorees to join the First Lady and me one at a time after I read the citations. And before I begin with the individual presentations, I want to say that the call to action we heard from our two Nobel laureates is one I hope everyone will remember. Sometimes the women we honor come here against great odds and in the face of danger. Sometimes shining this bright spotlight on their work protects them. But they all come with a commitment to continuing that we have to embrace and support, because each of them can use our help. So with that, let me begin. While it's a struggle for many women in Afghanistan to have their voices heard, Mariam Durrani is working to make sure that women's voices are not only heard, but amplified and broadcasted. She owns and manages the only local radio station that focuses on women's issues. Kandahar province, where Mariam lives, is one of the most dangerous areas of Afghanistan. But that has not stopped her from speaking out for women's rights and representing those ideas from her seat on the Provincial Council. Airing such bold ideas in public is not always popular. And she is with us today, having survived several attempts on her life. Yet she pushes forward undeterred, ensuring that those voices and the message of equality and inclusion is heard loudly and clearly. So, to you, Mariam, Director of the Khadija Kubra Women's Association for Culture, Kandahar, and Provincial Council member, for striving to give a voice to women through the power of the media, government, and civil society, despite innumerable security and societal challenges. We honor and applaud you. Major Priscilla de Oliveira Azevedo joined the Rio de Janeiro police force in 1998 and went to work in police battalions, cracking down on the criminals who plagued the beautiful, lively streets of Rio. She was eventually kidnapped by a gang seeking to undermine the rule of law in Brazil. Eventually, she was released. And the mayor demonstrated her duty and also extreme courage and commitment by going after and arresting the gang of criminals who had kidnapped her. Today, she is a prominent leader in the police force in Rio de Janeiro. And she continues to work with local governments to improve services and expand access to education and vocational training. So, to Priscilla, to Major, General Coordinator for Strategic Programs, Rio de Janeiro State Secretariat of Public Security, Major of Rio de Janeiro State Military Police, for courageous and dedicated service to Rio de Janeiro state's innovative favela pacification program as the first female commander of a pacification police unit and as coordinator of that in the state security secretariat, where she is integrating previously marginalized populations back into the larger Rio de Janeiro community. Thank you, and God bless you for your work. "11 years in a Burmese prison could not silence Dsin Marong. Her life's work has been promoting democracy, women's rights, and conflict resolution in Burma. Today, she leads a self-help association for female ex-political prisoners, as well as a school of political science. Her efforts have allowed former prisoners to take advantage of rebuilding their lives, even when her activism jeopardized her own freedom. She continues to raise awareness of issues affecting ethnic minorities in this evolving environment for civil society and democracy activists." So Dsin, you are a democracy activist. And so for championing democracy, strengthening civil society, and empowering individuals to contribute meaningfully to the political transformation of your country, we thank you and salute you. Jineth Bedoya Lima built her career in Colombia as a reporter seeking out tough assignments and going to great lengths to uncover the truth. But in 2000, she got too close to uncovering an arms smuggling ring involving government prison officials and imprisoned paramilitary leaders. When she traveled to the prison to interview some of those involved, she was kidnapped, driven 2 hours out of Bogota, raped, bound, and thrown into a garbage dump. "Pay attention," she was told by her abusers. "We are sending a message to the press in Colombia." Despite the most horrific treatment any woman can imagine, Jineth would not be silenced. Instead, she built on her work as an investigative journalist and demanded justice in her own case. She has become an outspoken advocate, shining a light on issues of sexual violence and denouncing criminals who think they can operate with impunity. So to you, Jineth, journalist, spokeswoman of the Rape and Other Violence Take My Body Out of the War campaign, for your unfailing courage, determination, and perseverance while fighting for justice and speaking out on behalf of victims of sexual violence in Colombia. All women and girls are in your debt. Thank you. As the dust of the Libyan revolution settles, the details of those tumultuous months are coming to light. We honor today Hana El Hebshi, a 27-year-old architect who was one of the people who documented that history while it was unfolding. Writing under the pseudonym Numidia, her reporting not only showed the world what the people of Libya were enduring, but let the people of Libya know that the world was standing with them. She remains a strong voice for freedom of expression and women's inclusion as the Libyan people chart the course for their country's future. So Hannah, human rights activist for courageous advancement of the cause of freedom and the freedom especially of expression, and for the promotion of women's rights during times of conflict and transition in Libya. We thank you and we thank all of Libya's daughters and sons who have made their country free. Even though the topic of domestic violence was taboo in the Maldives, Anisa Ahmed, the Deputy Minister of Women's Affairs, was unafraid to speak out and take action. She brought together citizens and stakeholders to build new partnerships to produce a series of documentaries to raise awareness about this issue and to begin the process of changing the way people think about it. As a government official, she pushed for legislation to curb domestic violence. And since leaving the government, Anisa has founded her own NGO, Hope for Women. Her group works to ensure that domestic violence issues are part of the public discourse and in the debates in government. When religious leaders got on the radio and said that female genital mutilation was an acceptable religious practice, Anisa fought right back, telling the public about the harmful effects of this practice and calling on the government to intervene to stop it. She is inspiring others to speak out about these once hidden problems, urging students and police officers and activists to confront these issues in the open. So, Anisa, founder, member, and chairperson, Hope for Women NGO, for your courageous and continued advocacy for women's rights throughout government and civil society, as well as the protection of women from domestic violence. We thank you for improving the lives and sending the message that domestic violence is not a cultural practice, it is a crime. Shad Begum encouraged women in her community to participate in the political process by voting and running for office herself. Now she lives in one of the most conservative areas of Pakistan, so this was a very tall order. Nevertheless, she did herself run for office against candidates who wanted to ban women from participating in elections altogether. Despite that sort of resistance, she won a seat on her district council in 2001 and 2005. She continues her work, creating opportunities for women beyond government. She also founded the Union of Women's Welfare, which is providing women the skills and knowledge they need to get involved in the political process, as well as offering microcredit, primary education, and human services for women in need. So Shad, Executive Director, Anjuman Behbuda Khawateen Talash, thank you for fearlessly championing Pakistani women's political and economic rights and working to empower the disadvantaged and oppressed. You are making a difference and setting an example for women and men in your country.